meeting to order, the Oconee County Planning Commission, Monday, April the 2nd, 2018. Our first item is invocation by our chaplain.
Sure. Mr. Chairman, pray with me if you like. Father, thank you for this day. You created as a gift and help us to be appreciative of it, appreciative of one another and caring and kind towards one another. As we go through this meeting, help us to have some clarity, ears that are really quick to listen before we speak, so that ears that we have your wisdom. Community and staff and support and do good. Further your will, your purposes, which good for our neighbors. Pray in your name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, has everyone read the minutes that we have before you? Motion to approve?
make the motion to approve.
Second? Any discussion? Corrections? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Public comment. Bill Gilster? Thank you.
Yes, good evening. My name is Bill Gilster. I'm chairman of the Board of Zoning Appeals, and I come to you tonight to address number 11 on your agenda. I don't think you're planning to get into the discussion, but I wanted to give you a little background prior to that discussion and for you to review of that. As chairman of the Board of Zoning Appeals and also being on there for several years, there's several themes that have consistently come up from that, and that is that people have felt that there's been inadequate notification about the special exceptions or the variances that are being requested, and that people have asked for more time. As a result of that, we decided to, well, let's look into what we really say in the code about what the notification process should be. Lo and behold, the code is silent for most part on what is required to notify citizens about something that's going to be potentially impacting to their property. So that was a bit of a surprise to us, but so we said, well, should there be in the code? Yeah, I mean, the code should state, people that are going to have a special exception or a variance that's going to potentially impact their property, there should be something in the code that says how should they be notified. So we discussed that and formed an ad hoc committee. Two of your members were on that committee, and we came up with this list of recommendations for putting the code. First of all, what are the ways that people should be notified? By paper, by signs, by letters, just like they are today. But it's being done just by practice. It's not being done by code. That could be changed at any given point in time. Somebody could be in a new position in the planning department and all of a sudden decide they want to do something differently. So I would encourage that, first of all, that the notification process should be in code. So therefore, if it needs to be modified, it has to be modified through the formal process, not just on a whim. But the other thing that we looked at is the current process that's just a practice, is that proper? So we formed this ad hoc committee, and we reviewed the items of notification, and basically we didn't change much from what was in the practice today, but we maybe give some additional time frame and additional notification to people. But it's still paper. It's got to be a notice in the paper. It's got to be signs on the property, and it's got to be letters that be written to people but we've defined how that is to be done. And that's what this notification, the committee really came up with that. So I would encourage you to look at this, think of this, that really isn't much different than what we're doing today. Some of the processes are a little bit longer, a little more notification, but the planning department still has to do about the same thing as they do today, but it will be in code. It'll be defined, so as a citizen, you know how it's going to be done and how people are to be notified. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your work.
Mr. Cogner?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Jim Codner, and I appreciate this opportunity to speak to the committee, the commission. Just a little bit more on what Bill was saying. About 4 years ago, I was at the BZA for a hearing on a cell tower request out in the Stamp Creek area. There was no one there except the cell tower lawyer. As you know, cell tower lawyers, they spend probably 6 months, put together a huge package, and they come in all prepared. And there was no one here from the community to talk about it. And all of a sudden, the cell tower went up over Christmas. It was approved because no one was opposed to it. Cell tower went up in the area, and people around it were livid. And the problem was that at the time, all you had to do was post a sign and put a notice in the newspaper. No one saw the sign because the property was off on a dead-end road. So no one in the area saw the sign, no one knew the hearing was going to be held, and as a result, no one showed up. That's happened again more recently with the Bountyland cell tower request, and again, no one showed up. That one was not as negative, and probably many people wouldn't have had an objection, but still, there was really no good notice given. So, as Bill said, this will codify some notice requirements. The ad hoc committee that discussed this went through a number of different alternatives, and everybody had their opinion, and some people wanted more of this, and some people wanted less of this, and more of this, and whatnot. But as we worked through it all, this is what the committee came up with. I have one other comment to share with you. One of the recommendations is to require a photo-simulated balloon test for cell tower requests. And that's the picture that I gave you here before the meeting. All that's required in code is to do a visual impact analysis. And that can be a number of things. And historically, it's been a balloon test. And you see up in the upper left-hand corner here what the balloon looks like. It just kind of disappears in the background. Whereas the test that is recommended here is to photo simulate or to computer generate what the cell tower itself will look like in the picture. So you can see that here. Here's the cell tower right here. That's invaluable in everybody. If you're for it, against it, whatever, everybody looking at what the cell tower is really going to look like on the viewscape. And this is not required in standards. It's being used now. This has been used in the past several cell tower requests, but it's not required. And all we're asking is that get required, be a requirement in code to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Jack, I'm not going to pronounce your last name. Going to let you do it.
That's fine. I'm used to it. It's Behringer, like the wine.
Okay.
Only, unfortunately, I'm not related. I'm here for item number 8. I just thought I was signing up for the opportunity to speak on number 8 if I needed to. So I don't really have anything to add at this time. Thank you.
Okay. All right. If there's no one else, we'll move on to the next item, which is staff update.
Certainly. I put just one sheet of paper on your desk. It's for buses on private roads. There was a discussion Mr. Gramley brought up during the meeting last Thursday about it, and it had been brought up in the past historically by other people that school buses may or may not be permitted on private roads. As of today, that's the piece of paper that you would use if you have a private road in the county and you have kids that you want picked up by it. So we can, it's as of 2012, so it's not super old language at all. So if we have a private road in the county, we can have school children picked up from it once a waiver is signed by all the adjacent property owners, and really takes away liability.
what is the county's requirements for the acceptability of a road to drive the school bus on?
Acceptability of the county, I don't know that there is one. There is, it's a liability right there. They don't really speak to the drivability of it. I imagine the county would have to want to do it.
Well, these traditional neighborhood things are talking about, substandard sized roads.
What we were getting to that, and we can talk about that in that portion of the discussion this evening. However, it's more of talking about the right of way, the non-paved areas, like the shoulder, like being able to put a sidewalk in. So if the code said the road has to be 11 feet wide, the road's gonna be 11 foot wide with a 2-inch base and the rest of the construction terminology. It's what goes next to it, like sidewalks or lamps or trees or things of that nature. But for my staff update part, not to get too in the weeds about the neighborhood development part, it would be buses are allowed on private roads in the county with the appropriate forms filled out. So that's all for my staff update.
Okay. We'll move on to item number 7, discussion on the 2020 comprehensive plan.
I only got one slide for that one. I do believe we talked about it, and I believe it is gonna be a budget item for them to discuss at the council level, and they're gonna debate the future budget, the 18-19 budget. I had to put this in here for our backup material since it was before the meeting. So we can discuss it, we don't have to. It is an item for them to discuss with the budget, but you all can do as you wish.
Do we need to make a motion or anything? I know that council was wanting to discuss it at their next meeting. Do we need to actually put that on ask that we put it on an agenda or anything?
Mr. Chair, right. I don't think they're gonna discuss it at their next meeting. I threw that out there during the workshop to have it as an action item for their discussion, and Mr. Mulder said it's gonna have to be a budgeted item anyway, so I'm just gonna put it in as a line item for the budget, for Planning Commission's budget. So that would mean that it's not gonna be considered on the next meeting. When they have first, second, third reading of the budget ordinance, will be considered, and that, I guess, with a total of
25.
25,000, let's say about
15,
114,
something, 115, 125.
thereabout, will be an item that's discussed during the budget discussions. So, if that's responsive to your question or not.
Do we make a motion then supporting
So there's
the
no
approval
motion
of
that's
that
necessary
budget?
at this point. I mean, they know what you're asking,
They know.
what the ask was from last time. Mulder's gonna include it in the budget document. It's gonna be up to council to approve it or not.
I was requested by a councilman to actually have a letter sent from us requesting the exact amount of the comprehensive plan money. Last week, he said that would be a good start, and he was under the impression that it would be discussed somewhat at the next meeting. He wanted it on the agenda as an agenda item.
It wasn't, it's not on the agenda. I haven't heard of that request. To put it on the agenda, they can amend the agenda, and add it. They can add it as new business because no action would be taken on it, so that wouldn't be a big deal. If y'all wanted to put a letter together, since we don't know the exact numbers, I think we threw out the 25,000 for the corridor plan and 89 for the comp plan, but it was just oral. So if you wanted to put a letter together, certainly that would be.
We've already sent the request for the 25.
Right.
The only thing we would have to do is send one for the 89, and that's what I understood that Alta said at the meeting, that it would be 89,000.
They recommended budgeting $89,000 for the comprehensive plan to get everything put to bed for it, so yes.
We have anything in writing from them saying that figure? We've tossed around that figure.
Yeah, I don't have like a one-page, you shall pay this amount a month. I did include an email, probably 2 meetings ago or 3 meetings ago, that said that. Also, there's a 10-page blurb in their little sales pitch, not at last meeting, but our last planning commission meeting, that also had that number in it. But if, yeah, so we do have 2 items saying $89,000. And the 25,000 we came up with locally and sent that up. So the 89,000 came down from the consultant. The $25,000 is kind of what you all said. That's what we feel comfortable with budgeting for this chunk of road.
So we need a motion to send the letter, or do we just?
Yeah, if you're gonna go the letter route, then you do a motion so you have the vote of the majority of your your commission.
Was that request before our meeting?
After.
So this would just be like the letter that we created for the corridors, thank you, for the corridors. We're saying, okay, we want $25,000 for the corridor. The question now is, do we want to request $89,000 for the comprehensive plan to be done by a consultant? So that's the question.
There's a little bit of difference there because we have to have the money for the comprehensive plan. Whether you do it or somebody else does it, we have to have it because we have to do it.
Correct.
The corridor's different.
That's correct.
That doesn't have to be done. So I don't see that we should have to request the money to do what we have to do. It ought to just be budgeted. They've got to put it in there. They don't have a choice.
I believe you or someone else made that point during the meeting quite well as well. $89,000 it would help drive the conversation, versus council saying, because they're not having this conversation, they're having every other conversation regarding money. If we were to give them a jumping off point, so 89,000 is exactly what we were told by our on-call planners to budget for it. If we want to ask for more, we can ask for more. If we want to ask for less, we can of course ask for less. But 89,000 was the recommended amount. So if that's what you all feel comfortable asking for, then that's what we got. If you all would like to answer that question.
Mr. Rudis has said that it's a budget item that we don't necessarily have to ask, but I think it would be beneficial if it did come from the department that's got to do it, saying, hey, guys, just so you know, we're going to be wanting
We're
to
in
see this
support
money
of you
show up
spending, yes.
when budget time comes, as opposed to us just sitting silent. Would that be appropriate?
Well, Mulder's already got it on his agenda for the budget.
That's what Mr. Root said, is that he has that on his agenda to do it. But that's from a budget person as opposed to the department that actually has to be responsible for it otherwise.
And I think we need to support the 89,000 because I think that any lower figure may put it back in our lap for us to have to do it. I mean, obviously if we can't pay Alta, if the full amount isn't budgeted, right, then
That's correct.
It falls back in our lap, and I know I'm not capable of doing what they did.
And
So-
that's really what it amounts to. Do we want to take this and Xerox it and send it back out
Stick
for
it
the
back
next
on the
10
shelf.
years? Or does county council want to listen to the citizens and make a determination what the next 10 years in the future looks like? And that's their job to make that determination. I think it's our job to say, hey, guys, this is how we think it should be handled.
I would just like to see us put a letter that supports the fact that we need to get the full amount to get the consultants to do it rather than us to do it.
When does the budget cycle start and end? Or I guess when's the fiscal year start and end?
July 1.
So
Otherwise, if something goes awry, we have it set at the beginning of June.
my question is, if we request this, and it does go through budget, and it is approved, we can't start spending the money till after July 1st.
Correct.
And then then the next question, the Alta, does that leave them enough time to go under, because there's probably several other counties around the state that are probably gonna be using their service.
No, I think, I don't mean to interrupt, but Mr. Mulder said that if it was approved, then they could go ahead and begin work on it. Somehow, do you remember that conversation? We had that conversation during the meeting, and he said, no, I believe we can go ahead and agree with them that they can get started and billing can fall into place after the budget is approved.
Sometimes Mr. Mulder and I do, I mean, it's rare, but we have a difference of opinions on something. And one
That would be one of those
we're
places.
spending money before it's appropriated sometimes in certain circumstances, so, yeah. Having the budget ordinance approved before the money is contracted to be spent would be the way
The way to do
to
it.
go about it, right? But, as I was talking to Adam earlier, it seemed like it was well received. I mean, it was all put forward a letter to to buttress, supplement, what y'all talked about during the workshop would be great. But I know there's this couple months for it to get the money in the bank, when the new fiscal year starts. I'm sure with further discussions with Alta, you can say, hey, what can we be doing while we prepare for that money to go to you? And so we hit the ground running, assuming you're there, And if you're not there, if we don't have the money for you, we're all the more ready. So it's not a wasted too much. And I think Adam started that dialogue with Mr. Tato.
Yes.
Oh, that'd be cool. I mean, I'm good with that.
So we need a motion to send a letter to council requesting the $89,000 for Alta to do the comprehensive plan.
I would like to know in advance of that budget whether it's going to be up or down, because we need to be started before July if for some reason they aren't planning on going that route.
They can't give you an up or down that's binding.
Okay.
If that's what you're seeking.
I'm seeking this looks good to us, or there's no way we're going down this road. Because by July, if it's the 5 or 6 of us trying to make all this happen, we really need to know before July.
You can, in the letter, request that, the money, as discussed, $89,000 for Alta, and ask that it be discussed in some sort of initial opinion, be forwarded by council at its next opportunity, something of that nature. Understand that? I mean, it's gonna give you a finger in the wind kind of idea, but just knowing that it's not binding, it could change.
I don't know what they would charge. So part of that $89,000 is a training for me, a 1 or 2 day training for doing additional meetings and things of that nature, and just us working together and networking and figure out their language and our language together. I can see if they could break that out into a smaller piece and see like, okay, it'll cost us X amount for you to just do that 1 or 2 days of training, and I could start that way. And maybe there's something in that I would learn that I could start the process on here. I don't think they're gonna create anything, they're not gonna give me a hamburger today so I can pay it tomorrow kind of thing, to use my McDonald's analogy. But I can ask. I mean, if they have good faith, we're not going anywhere, they're not going anywhere, we can certainly ask. There's no harm in us trying, right? But as far as the letter goes, if you want to get a formal letter saying we need $89,000 to be in the budget for 18-19, if you all want to go that way, that's perfectly reasonable.
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of going back to what Ms. Lyles is saying is they got to appropriate something for this. I mean, we're required by law to do it. And I've been vacillating back and forth, in-house Alta, and I think where we're at today and, what it's going to take, I don't see it happening in-house without hiring another employee, and I know that's not going to happen. Or, I don't think that's going to happen. And so I think we got to request the money be appropriated. If it's not appropriated, then, we'll do a comp plan, but it's going to be, it might be that 20 pages we've been looking for.
Goal.
I can pull out 15, 20 pages, we can copy on a copy sheet.
So, anyway, I make the motion.
And I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Do you think it would strengthen it any if we, put in there, like if we took a vote on who wanted to use Alta or whatever and put that in there, like we were unanimous about using?
I can certainly
Alta? Do you think that would
add unanimity to
strengthen
it.
it any?
Sure. Unanimously.
I'm up for using Alta.
I am too.
Yeah. He convinced me. I wasn't until we talked to the guy came the other night and he swayed me.
They make a very good product, and it's tantamount to having, if you're into ag, like having John Deere based like right next door. Like they're out of Greenville, and they're local people. I mean, the people we'll be talking to directly are from Lexington, and both went to Clemson. One used to be a Seneca planner for Seneca, my intern, I think, back in the 80s. But like if you do a bike ped master plan to get federal money for that, you use the guide that they made. They made just an excellent, very pictureful guide. So yeah, the fact they're our on-call planner is they're very good. They make a very good product.
Chairman, if I could, you could do a motion to reconsider just because you're asking for unanimity. Right, someone could just make a motion to state in the letter that commission unanimously requests this as a secondary motion. I don't know that y'all are all for it. I don't want it to be vague at all if somebody's against all $80,000. make it clear now.
Okay.
Anyone against?
So I need a motion?
I'll make the motion.
And I'll second.
Second. Discussion? All in favor? Say aye. Okay.
Everything's easy, easy eye.
Adam's buying dinner.
Yes, sir. Zaxby's, I'll be right back.
Okay, item number 8, discussion on Lake Residential Development District. This item was tabled at our last meeting, I think. And so, do we need to just bring it back up for discussion, or we didn't vote? Did we vote or anything? I mean,
It would have been, you would have had a motion, as I recall, hopefully I would have.
motion and a second.
Motion and a second, then table it, so someone just moves to bring it off the table, bring it to the floor.
I moved to bring it off the floor, or off the table, sorry.
So move.
Do you need a second and a
Yes,
vote?
ma'am, and then-
Second that?
And it's in front of you, you're good.
All right,
Talk about it.
now any discussion about this item? From what I understand, this is exactly what we do for control-free, or now, right?
Correct. For the control-free district, we have a sliding scale. Control-free district, this varies slightly because control-free district doesn't have a minimum lot size, while Lake Residential has a minimum lot size. So we do a sliding scale for control-free district. Doing a sliding scale for Lake Residential District feels about the same. For a smaller lot, you have smaller setbacks. So that matches the same setbacks for the same size lots within the control-free district. So
And we also did it for Lake Hartwell, right? Did we not do it for Lake Hartwell?
right now, the only sliding scale for, now if you have utilities versus not utilities, there's different, or if you're doing for commercial aspects, Lake Residential, not commercial aspects, but it varies, but strictly on utilities present, control-free district is the only sliding scale. This doesn't affect density at all. This is merely setbacks for a smaller piece of property. If you have a smaller piece of property, your setbacks could be smaller. That's all it affects.
I think if they own it, they should be able to do what they need to do to make work for them. Do we need a motion?
If you wish to, if you guys want to talk about it.
We already had a motion and a
But this is
second.
gonna be less restrictive on them, not more restrictive.
That's correct. For a small lot, you get a little more elbow room.
Did you get the information you needed, Mr. Brad? Yep. Okay. Any further discussion?
I guess with these small lots, they'll be required by the health department to have piped sewage as opposed to septic tanks.
No, sir. DHEC doesn't speak to any sort of land use sizes. At 0.57 acres, which forever and a day has been thought of like that's the minimum lot size available. That was just anecdotal evidence that got piped into our that makes sense, into our code of ordinances. So no, the quarter acre lots, because right now we have quarter acre lots in the Lake Residential District and the control-free district and just about every other district. We already have quarter acre lots that are buildable and livable.
DHEC doesn't have minimum lot size for septic tanks?
No, sir. It was always anecdotally that they had it, like, oh, someone told someone that told someone, then we ended up codifying it.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Did we have a motion?
You're right. I was just seeing if there was a vote was. Okay.
Okay. Item number 9, discussion on neighborhood development district. This is the old traditional neighborhood development.
After, if I may, sir, after our meeting on Thursday, and during it, I looked at Mr. Kane, I asked him, are we married to a zoning district? And so I came up with a list of 4 examples for us to get up running for the neighborhood development district. My intention, if you all tell me to, is to meet with developers, as many as I can in this county who wish to build in this vein and get their input onto what makes sense versus me just doing it from a textbook. to get together with the builders, the builder groups, the developers, people who have built, people who've expressed interest in building, and try to parse out what works best as a group. So my first thing about that is calling it traditional neighborhood development really kind of throws a monkey wrench into everything. So if we just call it neighborhood development, that may help clarify some things. It's just a suggestion I'll have. Also, if we turn it into a zoning district, it takes time. Best case scenario, if you came to me, wanted, say we pass this, becomes a zoning district, we're talking 2 weeks to come to you, then 3 separate meetings at council. And that's if everything goes perfectly, that there's quorum, that no one speaks against it, before you know if you can do your project. And that's 6-8 weeks of invested time where you could be doing something else. So if you all would like, I could attempt to turn this into performance standards, where we put a lot of face time into creating the standard, and we would be able to administratively approve it in the office. If you met standards X, Y, and Z, you don't have to go through the whole public process. You'd be able to do it administratively, which would, from the developer I spoke with, timing is really everything with developments. If you have to wait 6-8 weeks before you're able to know if you can do a project when you could have done a project somewhere else, why wouldn't they just go somewhere else where they know they can do it? So if you all like, I can come up with something that's something you could do I could do administratively if you came to me. If it met, so I would do it as in basically road standards. You could be exempt from certain road standards and still have to meet fire code and engineering standards, but you have to meet Chapter 32 performance standards for this yet to be created neighborhood development district. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. If you all want me to go that route, I can. If you would like me to provide language for a zoning district as well, I can do that. But this will take me at least a couple months to come up with, to meet with enough people to get a good, solid feel of what developers are looking for. So that's what I got.
Those sound wonderful to me. And it sounds wonderful that, because like you said, if it becomes a zoning district, then you're waiting 3 months every time anybody wants to do it. Or you're waiting at least 3 meetings after they brought it to us. Right,
And
yeah,
that's
all that
best
other
case,
stuff.
best case
Yes,
scenario.
Yes. So to me, if you want to do, and then they could do this anywhere, right? Or, well, anywhere that they could meet the performance.
Yeah, I would probably, at the moment, I mean, I'm just leaning this way and I haven't fleshed it out. I think you would have problems sticking it in some of the, like, let's say, Lake Residential District.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously not there, but anywhere that this would fit, it's not like they're gonna have to go in and pick a spot and then ask for specific
Size-wise,
zoning.
correct. Like,
Right.
they'd be able
And
to,
you-
if they had a big enough chunk of land
No.
where they'd be able to do it. And once again, don't hold me to this. I haven't come up with anything on paper. So let me flesh it out. I don't want to give any details that could possibly cause any issues if I'm wrong about. But yeah, let me start putting some stuff together, nuts and bolts, have some meetings, and I'll get back to you on it.
If you do it as a performance standard, can you potentially then include some of the zones that you would see this being approved for? And some of the zones you would, in other words, if somebody comes to you and says, I want to do this, I'd like to do this over here, the first thing you're going to do is go, is it already zoned X, Y, or Z? Because we're not going to be able to do this without going to a BZA or something.
I haven't gone through the mental exercise of seeing who would yell at me for what yet.
Does that
So
make sense?
yeah, I need to have that. I have a big empty whiteboard in Bill's office that we basically powwow around to see, all right, if we do this, who's going to yell at me? If we do this kind of thing. So we're going to go through that. I don't have an answer for you on that at the moment.
I mean, control-free, or there are several districts that I could see you easily going, well, gosh, this is ideal for right here. Yes, it should be done. And then there are several areas where we've done protective zonings for certain reasons. Or an the Ag 5 or whatever, obviously this wouldn't work in. So,
Correct.
so if you would just include, when you do get back to us with this more formulated, what zones it won't go in and what zones it could potentially go in.
Gotcha. I don't think I need a motion for anything. I'm just going to go ahead and do that, and I'll get back to you. It won't be the next few meetings. I said I have to have some meetings with developers, builders, et cetera. And if there's are any developers or builders who wish to be part of that, please let me know. I know Markovich does, but if there's any other ones that anyone else knows, please get in contact with me. Please put them my way. I mean, realtors, even realtors can be part of it.
Any further discussion on this item? Okay, item number 10, discussion on clarification of certain code sections bearing on land use and development as contained in chapter 26, 32, and 38 of the Oconee County Code of Ordinances. Mr. Adam.
Next time I'll make a longer title for that.
Thank you.
So last time we voted for the first two items we spoke about, these are the same two items we spoke at, the zoning use matrix and subdivision naming. We didn't vote on to send them to council, we just voted on liking them, essentially is what it came to. But at the end of the sign code, let's go through the sign code portion, that hopefully I took out all the sticky parts. We can vote on to send the whole thing to council as one bit versus sending different things at different times. So zoning use matrix, we've already went over, you all voted on liking the zoning use matrix. Is there any other discussion you all would like to do on that? It's just adding the title to it. Okay. And this is just the matrix itself, nothing changed there. The subdivision naming process, we went through last time. This is the exact same information, nothing's changed. I've just, the stuff that was crossed out, I just removed. This is all the same stuff. Anything y'all like to change on this? Okay. All right, sign code, this is the easy one. So in this first item here, I highlighted this because this is what I changed last time. And last time I had the building official. And after a discussion with a member of the public and some other people, we changed it to zoning administrator. It makes more sense that the zoning administrator has the sign rights, because I'm looking at the sign permits anyways. There's no sense to have to bring it to Scott Carroll, the building official, to look at it. So the zoning administrator makes sense for this. That's a change I made here. You all didn't ask me to make it, but I made it. Do you all feel that's okay? It's more of an administrative thing than a customer-facing thing.
I don't have any issue there.
Okay, cool. You all had an issue with this part. This dealt with grandfathering, so I struck it. So I'm just highlighting to show you that I struck it, so it's removed. Building mounted sign, nothing changed there. No one had an issue with that. We had a conversation about it, but nothing changed about it. We did have a conversation about the setbacks for signs and billboards, and I gave you 3 options. So I just put the one that you all voted on. Use the underlying zoning district. Same thing with the height. That's just what it's going to be. It's the height of the underlying zoning district. You all didn't have a problem with that. So we're still all good with that stuff? Okay. Billboards, I just put it all together. Once again, didn't change anything there. So here is our sentence by committee. Do we like it? Signs less than or equal to 75 square feet are permitted on 2-lane roads. Signs less than or equal to 50 square feet do not require a land use permit. Do we all?
What does what's the difference between the red and the red highlighted?
The red is the same, the language that was there before, that I introduced new last time. Highlighted is where I've changed that language up. So for instance, last time, if you look at the top of it for setbacks, I gave you 3 options for that. This time I highlighted it because I just gave you the one option that you all voted upon to have it match. So the sentence I had here last time was wonky, didn't really tell the whole story. So I changed the sentence to match, hopefully matched. So do you all, does this feel better? Does this speak a little better to you? Okay. This is just about building mounted sign, definition, which we already spoke to. Abandoned billboard signs, I didn't change anything there. This is all just as it were. Exemptions. So before I had, last 2 weeks ago, I had speaking about electric permits, things like that. I went the other way with it. I just said signs or billboards less than 50 square feet shall be exempted from a land use permit. That's just my side of the hallway. It doesn't say that they need to get another permit. It just says they don't have to get a land use permit with it. That's all it is. Are we all, that was cool. All right, so here last time I changed it back to land use permit because I try to make too many people happy. So it's land use permit. That's just what our software is going to say now. And then this I removed. This spoke to removing signs within the right of way. I struck that language because we thought it was a little sticky, the very last sentence. So if we're, this is the very last sentence of it, I pulled out, I put in there, we didn't like it, so I took it out. So if you all are happy with these or you want to talk about it, just I'm here.
So do we need a motion to send all this?
If you want to make a motion to send the amended sections to county council for their approval, that could be made. Go ahead, ma'am.
The grammar lady's coming out just for a second.
Tell me.
The second sentence under abandoned billboards and signs,
That's already in
second
there.
line, it just says, which, the owner of the property upon which the billboard or sign is located within 45 days of notification by and the county building official. Is it by the or a? It can't be and the.
The billboard sign owner and/or the property owner may appeal the county's designation of the billboard or sign as abandoned under this article to the matter. Am I reading the right sentence?
No, above that, it's actually the second line. An abandoned billboard or sign, that's the first line, as defined by this article, shall be removed by the owner thereof or the owner of the property upon which the billboard or sign is located within 45 days of notification by an or the county building official. You don't need an and the.
I can certainly strike that, ma'am,
I would say a county building,
by A.
by a county, because there's more than one, right? So it would not be the county building.
We always only have one county building official.
Oh, okay, then the county building official.
Hold on, Mr. Root's legalizing it at the moment.
I've been out of the classroom too long, I just had a fit on that one.
Good for you.
Not fit.
That's the language as it exists today, correct? All right, I will change that to,
And then that looks good.
Okay, so we need a motion to send this, all of these, to council as a whole.
as,
I so move.
Second. Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Our last item here, number 11, it says discussion on the BZA and ad hoc committee recommendations on notice changes. This is actually gonna be just an informational part here. Just want to make sure everyone has the information about what the ad hoc committee sent to us. I would like for y'all to make sure you read it all. If you have questions, please contact Bill Huggins.
you can contact Bill, or if you have any questions tonight, you can ask me or Mr. Root about it. We're certainly here to,
And then return at our next meeting for for discussion and a vote at that time. You may also contact Ms. Cogner. He'll give you what information he has. So, without going in,
I assume this is heading into an ordinance? A new ordinance or add on to?
It would be massaged into the existing ordinance, chapter 38, depending on what y'all decide to go with of these options, or all of them. Correct. And it could be, some of it could be shifted over to, hey, let's make this a policy, a written policy of, BZA or with the planning staff or what have you. It's just, I guess, as Mr. Pearson states, study it, get your feelings on it, thoughts on it, and then we'll come back and discuss on what you like, what you don't like, how to implement it.
okay. Any old business? Any new business? Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
This is the fastest we've ever